Welcome back, everybody, to Living Lessons from Tanya. Today is going to be a major aha. We're going to be learning chapter 12. So just a little bit review of chapters 10 and 11. Chapter 10 explained to us what exactly is a righteous person. And we explained that a righteous person has no sin whatsoever. We also explained that they have their three parts to them, how they express themselves: their thoughts, their speech, their action. They don't have any bad thoughts. They don't have any ill will about anybody. They are a tzaddik, totally thinking positive, good thoughts about God. The words that come out of their mouth is usually for Torah, prayer, complimentary, always something good. Actions, they can't even go like this, pow, for no reason to an ant who's just walking by. Every action of a righteous person, total control of thought, speech, and action. Now, to be reality, we discussed, it's almost impossible for anybody to be that way. A tzaddik is like literally telling your animal soul, move aside. I'm controlling the city. Your way of thinking ain't coming in here. So ball game over, talk to the hand, that's it. So the righteous person is literally righteous, doesn't even have a sin. Then we learned in chapter 11 just the opposite. What is a wicked person? A wicked person is one sin, boom. You go out of righteous immediately into a wicked person. We're talking about exactly the translation of what a wicked person is. In other words, if you have one bad thought, whatever it is, I wish that I could steal that from somebody. At that moment, you're not in control of your thoughts. There's still a wicked thought inside you. Or your mouth. You may have said a little gossip. You may have said a four-letter word. Not everything is devoted to God that comes out of your mouth. Or even your actions. Somebody's moving you, pushing you. So you give the guy a push. That takes you out of righteous and puts you right into the world of wicked. Now, the Alter Rebbe wrote this entire Tanya for one reason: to teach you and I how to at least become a Beinoni, something in between. Now, if I did one sin and I'm wicked, I mean the Beinoni does not have any sin, but yet they're not righteous. Yet the Alter Rebbe wants you and me to become a Beinoni, something in between. Rabbi, if you knew my potty mouth, if you knew the way I go eat lunch, I don't always eat kosher. Rabbi, there's no hope for me. How do you expect me to become a Beinoni? And the Alter Rebbe says, right on the very first page, before chapter 1, on the title page, he says, Ki korev elecha hadav ma'oid beficha ulvavcha la'asei. The Almighty writes in the book of Deuteronomy that Moshe teaches the Jewish people it is very close and very easy to serve God with your mind, your mouth, and in your action. Easy? That is the basis of the whole Tanya. And reality is, it is easy. So now chapter 12 is going to be the biggest aha moment of everything. You know your energies already. You already know that the godly soul is pure God. The animal soul is all ego, selfish. You know about your 10 energies. You know about loving God. You know about being in awe of God. All of this is a prep for chapter 12. Today is the biggest aha of the entire book. And we're going to be asking many different questions throughout this chapter 12. For example, seriously, how can I overpower my animal soul? Do you realize my brain goes 1,000 thoughts a minute? Even during this class, while I'm sitting and listening to this beautiful Tanya class, and Rabbi, you're a pretty good teacher, but my mind strays from Torah thoughts. That means I'm going with my animal soul. How am I ever going to become a Beinoni? What is a Beinoni? And it's also taught that a Beinoni is even stronger, has more power than a tzaddik. Greater than a righteous person? How? A lot of this will be discussed today. So let's get into chapter 12. All right, we're on page 82. So on the top of page 82, the Alter Rebbe writes, these are the exact words in translation of what the Alter Rebbe writes in Tanya, which is going to be the basis of today's class. What is a Beinoni? A Beinoni is someone whose three garments, meaning his thoughts, his speech, his action of the animal soul, never wins the battle of the godly soul. The Beinoni is able to control the mind, the speech, and the action. Well, that's a Beinoni? I thought that's a righteous. We'll get to that. Let's talk about what this really means. Everybody, let's look at the bottom of the page, and we'll read it. We each have an outer self. We all have an inner self. Both the inner and outer self of a righteous, in other words, my inside, the way I think and everything that's swimming inside me, and all of my actions are all aligned with God's will. That's a righteous. A righteous person's outer self is always doing Torah, learning Torah, doing mitzvah, always aligned. In contrast, a person who has sinned, his inner thinkings, his inner thoughts, everything that's swimming inside, plus the way he talks, the way he thinks, the way he acts, could be very wicked. So in one way, the righteous person is in such love with God and such awe of God, it never would go and do anything wrong. The wicked person doesn't even think about God. He's the animal soul, it's all about me. My thoughts, they're about, hey, where am I going to get lunch today? My mouth, I just pop off. That mother, bleep, 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 bleep. My actions, yeah, I'm brash. So what? Did I hurt anybody? A wicked person doesn't have that great love for God to always want to be the best acting person, speaking person, and thinking person. So where does a Beinoni come in? So let's explain a Beinoni's outer actions, in other words, the way I speak, the way I act is always good. But inside me, deep inside, it's still a mess. But I choose to do what's right. In other words, a righteous person's inside and outside is aligned. A person who's sinful, his inside is all, I don't care about God. I don't even think about God. And my actions outside is not godly at all. Very much aligned. The Beinoni is really fighting. That's where the struggle is. My godly soul says, come on, do the right thing. My inner, my animal soul is saying to me, who cares? I'll give you an example. We're at Ralph's. You're at Ralph's, and the lady gave you an extra $1 because it's Christmas $1. She's supposed to give you $8 change. She gives you a 5, a 1, another one, and another one. You walk away, 2 brand new dollar bills are stuck together. She thought she gave you 8, but there's really 9. You now know that there's $9. So inside you it says, hey, finders, keepers, losers, weepers. It's mine. Not only that, how many times does a store overcharge me? It's about time that I got $1 back. The godly soul is saying to you, yo, it's stealing. Come on, it's stealing. You're having that inner struggle. It's a normal inner struggle. Should I go back? All of a sudden the head goes and says, next time you come back, you'll give the $1 the next time you come. So if you walk away, you're stealing. That would be wicked. So what does a Beinoni do? I'm so confused, but I'm going to do the right thing. And you give back the dollar. A Beinoni is the person who's constantly struggling. What should I do? But eventually chooses right. Let's continue. It is easy to understand how the righteous outer self is completely indirect towards God all the time. The Beinoni, the secret tool to how to go and overpower and get strength, is the way we act when we pray. But we'll get to that in a moment. I want to explain a Beinoni. Today, on our computers, on our phone, we have bought plans, or the computer comes with blocking pop-ups. But do you remember the good old days when all of a sudden something pops up onto your computer? Buy this, buy that. Or sometimes it was not a, it was like, could have been a porn thing, etc., etc. All of a sudden there's a pop-up ad that comes on. How quick do you click the X to get out of it? See, that's a Beinoni. There's always a pop-up coming in your mind. There's always pop-up words that come out, one is about to come out of your mouth. There's always a pop-up action that's about to go and not be so kosher. How long do you dwell on that thought? How long do you go and use those words? How long do you allow your actions to be brash? Or immediately go like this, no, I am not going to think that way. I'm going to think positive about the person. The pop-up thought about the person being negative, or the pop-up words that I could say something negative, or the pop-up action. How long do you go and dwell on this? The person who goes on the computer and says, let me look at that pop-up ad. Oh, wow, it's a porn site. And then after 10 seconds, you go, I'm not interested. That's not a Beinoni, that's a wicked person. Why? Because you decided to look at it and then you said, it's not interesting. A Beinoni, the second something pops up, clicks out of it. I choose to do the right thing. So let's give a living example of that, not only with a computer. You're driving down Olympic Boulevard, you're driving along Ventura Boulevard, and you're hungry. And you go like this, hey, you know what? There's an In-N-Out burger there. So all of a sudden, there's a pop-up. You think in your head, 1 minute. But there's a kosher store 4 blocks further. You're on Pico. I can go to McDonald's. But there's a Jeff's Gourmet. I can get the same hamburger, but it's kosher. So at that moment, you're struggling what to do. A Beinoni will do the right action. So it's 4 blocks further. So it's a couple of dollars more. Who cares? I want to do what's right. So you and I have to recognize that the Alter Rebbe is teaching us a powerful moment. This is the aha. Don't think about I always have to be righteous. Because if you always think you'd be righteous, you're never going to get there. So all of a sudden you're going to give up. To go and think, Rabbi, let's be truthful, I'm kind of wicked. If you think that way, that I'm constantly wicked, then you start getting depressed about yourself. Comes out that Rebbe says, stop thinking about the big picture. Think about this moment right now. This minute right now. Can you make the right choice? You can. You're a Beinoni. We know that you have inner struggles. We get it. But you made the right choice. How many times do we all come to services and we want to pray and we say, Almighty God, and we come at Siddur and we want, within 10, 15 seconds, pop-up ads come into your head. You see, when you're at synagogue, you're giving yourself totally, the godly soul is taken over. The animal soul goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Did you forget about me? I'm going to start barking. I'm going to be a cat. I'm going to go meow. I'll scratch. I'll pop up into your head. I must distract you from learning Torah, like at this Tanya class that we're having right now. How many pop-up ads show up? How many times during services does your mind go somewhere else? And it's not because you have ADHD and all that stuff. The animal soul is saying, give me attention. So right now you have a battle. I want to pray. But the animal is getting so much into me. What do? Comes out that Rebbe says, choose at this moment to be strong and tell the animal soul, I'm not listening to you. Now, during services, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. It's very hard to go and do that for an hour or two. I get it. But could you do 10 seconds? Could you go and say to the animal, I'm not going to think about this now, and then you go back and you concentrate on the words? Even just if it's in English, you're a Beinoni at that moment. Comes the Alter Rebbe says, that is the most important thing of a Jew's life. God knows there's no such thing as going to be a righteous person. There are very few. You think I demand you to be a Rebbe? You think I demand of you to be a Moses? You think I demand of you to be Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah? No! I know who I created. And I created you with an animal soul. And I know it's going to go and drive you crazy. I get it. I'm not expecting you to give up all passions in life. But what I do ask, could you overcome the animal once in a while? Can you at least take this moment and instead of going to the unkosher place, go to a kosher place? At that moment, your animal soul became weak. At that moment, you became powerful. It's almost like people of addiction. They need a drink. I need a drink. I need a drink. So what do they teach you? They go and they teach you, he says, take every moment. You can't go and plan the rest of your life. The past is in the past. Stop worrying about what you've done. The most important thing that you must do is think about how are you going to be able to be, at this moment, righteous. And that's a Beinoni. So how many times have you, in your personal life, could have said, I can light my Shabbos candles on time. But then all of a sudden, you know what? Let me just go and watch a few YouTubes. Let me just watch a few Instagrams. Let me just do a few things. And before you know it, you look up at the clock and say, OMG! Candle lighting passed 20 minutes ago. The animal soul got you. So the moment the desire to light Shabbos candles, something came into your head to delay you. At that moment, you have to be a Beinoni. Talk to the hand. I am not going to be doing Instagram because I know now is the time to light Shabbos candles. The same thing is when it comes to learning Torah. It's very hard for you and I to sit in this class and listen to a half hour, 40 minutes of pure Torah thought. Very hard. But every time the phone rings, I don't have to answer it. But it's a business partner. I don't have to answer it. That's a Beinoni moment. But then the head goes, says, but I may lose a lot of money. You're not going to lose a lot of money. You know as well as I do that there are times you're busy with another customer. And if you were busy with another customer, would you pick up the phone? Of course not. Why? Because the customer is going to say to you, excuse me, I'm not the most important thing to you. That phone is more important than me. I'll go elsewhere to do my business. So if in business you can able to go and tell even another customer, I'll talk to you, I won't pick up the phone. Why during the Tanya class? Why not during Torah class? Why not when you're praying? Can't you do the same thing? And the answer is you can. But the animal doesn't bother you when you're doing business. When does it seek attention? When you're doing a mitzvah. The more you take the power away from the animal soul, the weaker it is. When it comes to addiction, Every moment that you go, and every time that you have a desire for the drug, for the food, for the alcohol, and you go and say, no, I'm not doing it. Then each time it comes after you, you become stronger and the desire becomes weaker. Where did all of that come from? From the teachings of Judaism that's been around for thousands of years, which is now being codified by the Alter Rebbe and Tanya a couple hundred years ago. That you have to recognize that all impulses, all addictions, all desires is from the animal soul because it always wants your attention. Especially when you're doing something right. Especially when you're doing God's work. Comes the Alter Rebbe and says, I know it's impossible to become righteous. Totally. But could you have Beinoni moments? Can you? And the more Beinoni moments that you have, the more every day you say, I'm not going to go to the unkosher restaurant. I enjoyed Jeff's. I'll do it the second time, third time. Hey, is there another kosher restaurant on Pico where I work? Or like I can drive a mile to it? Or I can now do Postmates? It's so easy. After doing that a week or two, you start realizing, I've been doing kosher so often. What's so hard? Why do I have to keep on going to McDonald's? And before you know it, the desire for McDonald's and unkosher food, the animal soul says, he beat me. I'll find something else. And it could be, don't go to services, there's always going to be inner battles about you trying to grow in Judaism. Comes the Alter Rebbe and says, don't try to go cold turkey. It's impossible. Take a moment by moment. Be a Beinoni at this moment. Choose right. I know your inside is still screaming, come on, don't be so religious. What are you turning Orthodox? All of that stuff. That's the animal soul. Your inside is not aligned, but you choose right. Now you understand why. We said many classes ago that the Alter Rebbe had followers, that when they were learning the Tanya, they would sit between themselves and give a l'chaim to each other. Boys to boys, girls to girls, women to women, men to men. They would go and say, may you have long life, may you have good health, all this stuff. But then they would say, how I wish I could be a Beinoni. I give you a bracha that you should have Beinoni moments today. That's how Chassidim used to talk. Because they recognize how difficult it is on a day-to-day basis to constantly fight off the animal desires. But I've had more Beinoni moments. Like a dog, for example. It barks and barks and barks. After a while, the dog recognizes no one's listening. And if no one's listening, it stops barking. So too with the animal soul inside you. It's trying to get you all confused and confused and confused. It barks and barks while you're praying, making noise, sending you business thoughts, thinking, I have to call somebody thoughts. Every little thought it can send you away, it does it. Bottom line, you can just take 10 seconds and hold it off and say, no, I'll continue learning. I can go and say, you know what? Today I'm not going to McDonald's. Why shouldn't I give a Jew business? Why shouldn't I go to a kosher restaurant? Does it always have to be McDonald's, the this, the that? And everybody goes, yeah, but kosher food doesn't taste as good. Have you been to some of the restaurants here in Los Angeles? You'd be shocked. Kosher wine have won awards. The animal soul will keep you from that. But if you become a Beinoni, you're powering the godly energy. And after a while, it's so easy. Do you know how many people come to my services on a Shabbos morning? And the first time they said, I should try out the service. And every time they wake up in the morning, it's a Saturday for them. They think, I should go to services. Then all of a sudden they say, you know what? I'm going to go to the beach today. You know what? I'm going to put in a round of golf. You know what? I'm going to go shopping today. There's always something to keep you from doing what you should be doing. And you usually choose what you enjoy. But then, one day you say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Today, I got to be a Bainani right now. I'm going to services. You go to services and say, you know what? It's really good. Next week comes, the animal soul is going to go like this. I know you had a good time, but seriously, you're going to give up the beach from now on and forever? Oh no, I can't do that forever. If you give in, the Bainani is going to have to start over again next time. But for those that have come 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, after a month of going to services, the Saturday morning fight is not there anymore. Of course I'm going to services. The dog stops barking. What it will do is, while you're at services, send you texts. And all of a sudden you start realizing, why do I have my phone with me? That's another Bainani moment. I'll stop having my phone with me during services. Then all of a sudden you go and say, why should I stay for the lunch that the rabbi serves? I'll go out with my friends to an unkosher restaurant. Then you start realizing, why not? The food's great here. There's a bunch of guys here. They're all having a drink anyway. Why do I have to separate myself here and go down the road? It's Shabbos. Slowly you can transform and weaken the animal soul. But throughout life, there's always going to be a challenge. Don't think I have to become totally righteous. Just think, at this moment, God is with me. I love God. Can I choose the right thing? That's a Bainani moment. But Rabbi, I need strength. I'm kind of weak. I'm kind of weak to my desires. Comes the Alter Rebbe and continues and says, the Bainani's secret tool to gaining strength to fight off the animal soul is davening. Davening is opening up a prayer book and talking to God. See, while you pray, the Bainani strengthens its godly soul. Once the godly soul is strengthened and there's more energy in you, you're able to subdue the animal soul. It's like the guy who's going out to wrestle in the morning without breakfast. You may be stronger. You may be much better than your opponent. But without breakfast, he's going to beat you. Whenever we daven, men, if you put on the tefillin, you say Shema, and you take a moment, you say, God, give me the strength that I can always make the right choices. This empowers the godly soul. And then when it comes to, like, you're sitting in a car with a bunch of friends and they say, hey, we're hungry. Where do we want to go? You can go and say, let's go to Jeff's Gourmet or any of the stores. And they go, all right, we don't care. As long as it's good food. To the Jew, it's like, but they're not Jewish. I don't want to impose. That's the animal soul trying to keep you from doing the right thing. But the more you wake up every morning, you say Yemoda Ani, and you say some praise, and you talk to God, give me the strength. At the moment that you are inside your mind fighting, should I say something, should I not say something? That's your breakfast. And you can overcome the opponent of the animal soul and say, hey guys, I know of a great place that makes great hot dogs, they make great sandwiches, hamburgers, you're gonna love it. Let's go. They're all gonna go. You know why? Because why not? That's a Bainani moment. And the more you do it, you're becoming less of an addict to listening to the animal soul. So we are going to stop here today to recognize that we're always going to have temptations to do this, to do that. God doesn't expect you to be 100%. But he begs of you, please be a Bainani. Try working on yourself. Try saying from time to time, I choose to do this time the right way. And do it again and again and again. And all of a sudden you detox from the animal soul. Add some prayer and say, God, I love you. Think about it for a moment. When you're dating and you're all in love and all that lovey-dovey stuff, you'll do anything when you're in love. You'll even add a bow. You'll even spend $2-3 extra to put a bow on the gift. Why? You know it's going to be ripped off and thrown to garbage, but it's the bow. It's the way it looks. It's a presentation. You're in love. The more you dive into Hashem, the more you talk and think about, God, there's 8 billion people in the world. And look at the beautiful life you're giving me. It's not so bad. So this is also part of davening, having such thoughts. But not just going and saying, I'm blessed. No, that's not davening. Davening would be there's fighting going on all around the world. Look what's happening here, there, downtown. In my life, I have a lot of troubles. But look how blessed I am. I'm able to pay the mortgage. I'm able to pay this. I'm able to take care of that. My health, I can't complain. Look how much God loves me. Look what God gives me. You feel good? Of course you do. That love feeds the godly soul inside. It's part of your breakfast. You're in the car, a quiet moment, and you're thinking, look at me. I have a 1972 Rambler. But it works. It's going. Look how blessed I am. That moment of feeling good, is the greatest feeling in the world. And that empowers your godly soul. That attaches you to God. That weakens the animal. And at that moment, should I choose right from wrong? You're a Beinoni. You did it. How many Beinoni moments could you rack up in a day? The more, the merrier. And that, my dear friends, is today's lesson. Be a Beinoni. Think about those momentary decisions. And if you need strength, just pray. Next week, we're going to go in tackling more issues that a Beinoni can come up with and how you can get the tools to be the best Beinoni that you could be.